Okay, here we are at the sewing machine, and we are going to piece together our Sawtooth star scrappy block. I like to start with the squares first and put them together, and they should line up evenly. And I just run through this machine. Okay. This is the center of the block, and I am going to sew the 4 squares together. 4 squares together. See how these come together? So, I'm going to start with the squares and sew these together. I am sewing on a Juki commercial sewing machine. It's the straight stitch machine only. Okay, so now let's start with our triangles. I'm going to sew triangles together. Go here, go right here. Put our triangles together. Now you notice right here, there are no points. I don't know if you can see that. There are no points. Just 1/4 inch. This is a 1/4 inch. This is a 1/4 inch. There are no points to trim off when you use the die center. That's a 1/4 inch and this is a 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to sew 1/4 inch down. Using the die system, you do not have to worry about trimming any points. I'll show you. You do have to sew a straight 1/4 inch seam if you want your blocks to line up. And you just line these up, put these on here. So I will continue to sew these together. I think we have about 8 of them. You do not want to stretch the triangles because they are on the bias. You can actually sew a whole quilt in a day using this method. Yes, you can. You can piece a quilt in a day using this method. I will show you that you do not have to do any trimming. I have not used a rotary cutter, you guys. You do not need a rotary cutter. We've got 2 more. This goes really fast. Once you get these all cut out, it goes really fast. Even the cutting goes really fast. Here's our last triangle. I don't always sew straight. Sometimes my sewing is a little off. I try to keep it a 1/4 inch seam, but so we're just gonna cut our pieces apart. Cut our pieces apart. These are our squares, and these are our triangles. So what I do is I lay them back down on my design board. Because you don't want to get these turned around and not have your star. Look at that. You have no triangles. There are nothing to trim. Nothing to trim. So let's lay these back on our design board so we can keep them straight. No points, you guys. No points to trim. No points. Good morning. Okay, last one. Okay. This is what our star is looking like. Now let's piece the rows together. We're going to piece together our 2 triangles. With this Sawtooth star, we're doing all Scrappy, and because the whole thing is Scrappy, we have to piece together our centered triangle. Sometimes that centered triangle is just one piece of fabric, but because we're making it scrappy, we're going to make it all single. We're making it all scrappy. So I'm sewing together my Scrappy triangles. And these fit together. I mean, look at that. You guys can make a whole quilt in a day, easily. With this method, you can make this quilt in a day. And here we're going to sew our 4 center squares together. We're going to line them up, and we're going to sew them together. And you do want to have your seams going opposite so that your block lays flat. Got the bottom going up and we got the top going, the bottom going down, the top is facing up. Okay. Alright, so we're going to cut these apart. So we got our center block. Look at that. It's our center block. And I finger press, and then I go to the iron at the end. Let's lay this out. So I finger press when I'm at the sewing machine. Let's see. Look at that. Perfect, you guys. See how those light prints line up? Look at that. No trimming. No trimming. No dog ears to cut off. Or no points to cut off. Look at this one. Look at that. Perfect, you guys. Lay that down. And again, perfect. Look at that. There. Oh, perfect. This one's off just a little bit though. Can you see that? But that's just my sewing. And I don't always sew 1/4 inch seam. This is what our block is looking like. And now we'll just sew the rows together. And then we'll be done. Let's start with the center block since it's the biggest piece. This entire block is all Scrappy. And this would be in my Etsy shop. Now, when you get in my Etsy shop, because this is a Scrappy quilt, the fabrics will not all be the same. So each kit is going to have different fabrics. Some kits will have the same fabric. Some kits will have different scraps of fabric or different fabric scraps because depends on the amount of fabric I have. So if you bought 2 kits, you may get 2 different sets of fabrics. Now this is a little off, but we'll keep going. My 1/4 inch seam is a little small. Okay, so let's just put this on here. But you do want to sew straight. And take your time. There's no rush. You could spend a day and you can finish this quilt in 1 day. You can finish a quilt top in a day, easily. Okay, let's cut this off. Cut this off. Okay. All right. Like that. All right, let's sew the other side. You want to have a design board so you can see your fabric laid out, especially when you're working with triangles and squares, because those triangles can get turned around upside down easily. And you don't want to make your quilt and then at the end find out all your triangles are turned the wrong direction. So a design board is important. And I always keep one near my sewing machine. And I always lay my fabrics out on my design board. Even if my block is only 3 pieces, three pieces of fabric, 3 shapes, I still use a design board just to have it laid out. And also so that I can see it. We are sewing on the squares. Sewing on the squares. I love Scrappy blocks because you don't have to do any thinking when it comes to your fabrics. You can just pick and go. I'm not good at picking out fabrics that go together unless it's a collection that's already sorted. I like making scrappy quilts because you don't have to think about it. Just sit down and just throw it together. And I do use like a 1-inch stitch. I have my stitch turned way down to 1. Okay, there's the center. And then here's your top, and here is your I always keep a scrap piece of fabric under my sewing machine. Now this one I got off. I did not sew this one. See right here, I did not get it lined up. See how that blue? That's because I didn't line it up straight. My seam is way too big. But we're going to keep going. This is a bottom piece. Here's what our block is looking like. Again, no rotary cutter, no points, no cutting. Okay, let's sew together this block, and then we'll be done. Okay, try not to make this video too long, but I also wanted to let you guys see me sew this together to show you that there are no points to trim when you use the die system to cut your fabric. You do not have to do any trimming. Your blocks are cut to the exact size, so you do want to sew accurately. And I don't always sew accurately, but you want to. Try not to make this video too long, so I'm trying to sew a little faster than I normally do. Okay, alrighty, so we got that on. We got one more. All right. If I wasn't talking, I could have had this block done right now. You could probably sew this in under 10 minutes. Once you get it cut out, you can sew this in under 10 minutes, guys. A whole block in under 10 minutes. And this is a scrappy block, which means there's a lot of fabrics, a lot of different fabric pieces. There's only 2 blocks to make up this. There's only 2 shapes to make this star, but there's a lot of pieces because it's scrappy. Every piece is different. Every piece of fabric is different. Now I can probably sew that into my seam allowance and and that should hide that imperfection. I always backstitch on the backstitch at the end. Alright, let's take this off. We did not do any pressing and we did not do any trimming. No rotary cutter, no that. Now I sewed this a little fast. Normally I wouldn't go this fast, but I don't want to make this video too long. Alright, look at that. Let's put that on our design board. Alright. Done. Easily. This is done. This is see the star, the points. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching.